Welcome to another episode on the Fearless Femme podcast with your host, Becky Jane Stevenson, the business creatrix. So today's episode is a little bit different from my usual content that you've all been enjoying, but it is an important topic nonetheless as we head into those colder months. And yes, spooky season is upon us. But as the air's getting crisper and the trees are shedding those leaves and we are cozying up with those thick jumpers and our pumpkin spice lattes, we're also entering into a season that can hit us quite hard. The shorter days, the darker evenings, and that colder weather can have a real impact, especially on us ladies. And it's not just about the drop in the temperatures that the colder months bring, but it's also the dip in the energy, the lower moods, and even those hormonal shifts. We can all feel it quite deeply, and that's what I want to focus on for today. So for some of us, navigating these seasonal dips in moods and dealing with even seasonal depression. For others, it's juggling the end of year business and setting those goals up to start 2025 strong. It can be the hustle with the Black Friday offers and preparing for Christmas. It's a lot, and that heaviness can really start to impact on our overall well-being. But I get it because I've been there myself. A few years ago, I was recovering from really heavy burnout and depression, and these colder, darker months often felt like an uphill battle for me. I found it a real slog, but I started finding strategies that helped me out to not only get through it, but to also recover, to find some balance, and also how to keep my energy in a place that didn't feel heavy. So I'm going to be sharing some of the tools that I used to rebuild my energy and my mindset back then, and now they are literally part of my everyday toolkit for these months for maintaining balance, especially during these challenging seasons. So in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you those exact strategies, how I kept my mood and my energy balanced while rebuilding from that burnout. And whether you're feeling the weight of the season or you just want to feel grounded in the chaos, these tips are really going to help you to stay on top of your game without losing yourself to the winter blues. So pause it here if you need to, go and grab a cuppa and let's dive in. So first up in my tips is ecotherapy. Now, I don't mean an expensive type of therapy. This one comes absolutely free the moment you step out of your front door. So this therapy is going to help you jump out of your head and back into your body and into nature. Now, just like me, years ago, I used to roll my eyes at the thought of how going for a walk and being in nature could help my low mood, could help lift the depression that I was experiencing, but nature really does nurture. So anxiety, stress, and rumination, overthinking, questioning things in your head, can really contribute to that lower mood. So when you get out into nature and soaking up that ecotherapy that comes for free, it contributes to those healthier vitamin D levels, because as we know, being out in the sun, even if it's a cold day, will still carry the vitamin D that our body needs. It also provides us with that healthy distraction as well when we're out. If we're too in our heads, too focused on all of the things that we have to do, if you've got Christmas coming, you've got family, if there's lots going on in your business, you're seeing lots of other business owners gearing up for, a powerful couple of months before we round off the year. It can really cause us to question a lot of things. The imposter syndrome can ramp up, the self-doubt, what offers you're going to create for Black Friday, just so much. So when we get out into nature, there's so much of a distraction because there's so much to see. There is so much to take in, to appreciate all of the colours of the leaves, the sounds of nature, of the birds and all the rest of it. But this isn't just about going for a walk. Walks are great. you can take your music with you and listen to music. You can listen to a podcast. You can listen to an ebook. Or if, like me, you are quite creative, or even if you've got kids, try some activities that you can do whilst you are out. So these could be tree rubbings. So taking some paper, some chalks, or some wax crayons. There can be leaf art. You can do some leaf rubbings. You can create garlands with your kids, so collecting up the biggest leaves that you could find of all different colours, pop them into a bag, take them home, thread them on some string or some wool to create some garlands to decorate your home. As we know, Halloween is coming, so this would be perfect. You can collect stones and pebbles. You can paint them and leave them out for other people to find. You can go and visit any natural nature landmarks if there's any nearby. Just giving yourself that chance to get out of your environment and out into nature can be incredibly helpful, incredibly soothing, and if nothing else, will provide you a little bit of peace and quiet and distraction from those thoughts that might be going around in your head. Okay, on to number 2. And that's making sure that you maintain a good level of vitamin D. Now, I know in the first tip I talked about getting out into nature, especially when it's sunny, even if it's cold, because the human body needs vitamin D. But what we get from the sun and UV rays is not enough to maintain a healthy level of vitamin D. Now, if your vitamin D levels are low, that can mimic depression symptoms, and it can also bring about, if it's incredibly low, it can bring about brain fog and also joint pains and just generally feeling like shit. So one of the things that we can do is increase our vitamin D intake, as well as getting out in the sun when we have the opportunity to, getting outdoors, but taking a daily supplement of vitamin D, and it needs to be a high strength. I take vitamin D supplements every day. These can be picked up on Amazon for a full year's supply for around £8 or £9. So making sure that you take those as well as getting out is like a double threat to making sure your vitamin D levels are healthy. Also, eating vitamin D rich foods such as eggs, chocolate milk, tofu, mushrooms, taking cod liver oil, salmon, oatmeal and cereals as well. And yes, you heard right, chocolate and chocolate milk as well. So the third is probably one of my absolute favourites to implement, is creating yourself what I like to call a comfort kit. So your comfort kit isn't just reserved for those moments when your energy is low and your mood feels like crap. This is a specific kit that you put together for yourself, filled with your favourite things that you access when you notice that daylight is ending and it's starting to get darker, so that you are prepared for it and you can transition well from the daytime to the evening. So this is a kit filled with your favourite comforting, feel-good things. So these can be your fluffy PJs, it can be your dressing gown, or if you are like me, that typically keeps a dressing gown on most of the day when I'm at home, because there's nothing like putting your favourite dressing gown on, right? It could be slippers, fluffy socks, your favourite hot chocolate, favourite movies, favourite books, slippers, all of the things that bring you comfort and contentment. It can be your favourite skincare, it can be a face mask, it can be a crochet kit, or some small thing that you can put in a box that you can take out on an evening when it's starting to get darker, and you can snuggle up somewhere nice and cozy, stay warm. You know, there is a reason, like I said, when people put their PJs or dressing gowns on when they get home, because it is a comforting feeling. It's like the hug that you can gift to yourself. And this is full-on self-care and self-love, and nurturing yourself through those darker nights. So the next tip that I can give is having scheduled activities. So what I mean by scheduled activities, a bit like your comfort kit, is keeping specific activities for a specific time in the day. It is a go-to activity that you can do at the times when you notice that your energy is lower or your mood is getting lower when the night closes in. It is something that you can look forward to doing that brings you that sense of peace, sense of being grounded, where you're not as in your head. It gives you a sense of fun, calming, and brings that sense of feeling productive as well. Because one of the things that I noticed when I was recovering was during the day, because I have children, during the day I was pretty active, and obviously as a mum I had lots of things to do at home and then running a business. So through the daytime hours my mind was kept pretty occupied, but on an evening when the children went to bed and things were winding down and the house was tidy and all the rest of it, because I'd slowed down, it's like my brain was like, oh, you know, she's not as busy now. Let's throw all of these rubbish thoughts at her that she just hasn't had the headspace for today. And sometimes when it starts to get darker is usually when the household kind of starts to wind down, is sometimes when those thoughts can start to pop up. And it can feel like your thoughts are going a lot faster than they usually do. And it's not that you're getting more of them because it's nighttime. It's because they've been stored up. So having a scheduled activity, something that you only do at a certain time in the day, can also give you a sense of looking forward to something when the evening is drawing in, when it's getting darker, when it's getting colder, and the household is quieter. Instead of kind of dreading the hours winding down, you're kind of replacing it with an activity that you can look forward to instead. So on to number 5. So this next one was a bit of a game changer for me, and I aren't going to get on a whole spiel about being energy efficient and saving your electricity bills, but it kind of does link in, and this is around the lamps and the bulbs that you're using in your home. As we know, light therapy is great for people living with seasonal affective disorder or lower moods during the winter months. So I wanted to find a way that I could increase the feeling of daylight in the house without having to invest in expensive light therapy lamps. So I came across some bulbs. They were LED bulbs, so they are a little bit more higher on the price point, but they do last a lot longer. And I use them in a way to replace the reduced sunlight hours in the darker months and help me, almost like tricking the mind, because when we put our usual bulbs and things on, they don't replicate sunlight. I don't care what anybody says, they don't replicate the sunlight, our bog standard light bulbs. They have to be much, much brighter, and because there's the reduced sunlight hours with the daytime anyway, and then we've got these kind of light bulbs, it starts to reduce, it starts to give you that melatonin, which is the sleepy hormone, because the body naturally, as it gets darker and we haven't got the sunlight, then obviously our body starts to prepare for sleep. So I found that replacing my bulbs with these daylight bulbs, which were a lot brighter, actually helped me. Like I say, it was almost like a trick of the mind that still made it feel like it was daylight in the house, which can increase that serotonin. It can help you to balance and stabilize your moods. And bulbs nowadays are pretty inexpensive, and they are energy efficient, and they do give that feeling of longer daylight hours in the house as well, so that when it's getting darker outside and we're putting the lights on, it still feels slightly darker. It's not like having the sunshine through the windows. It's not going to feel like you are transitioning into the evening. So definitely look into that one. So the next one I want to talk about is essential oils. So essential oils are fantastic, and especially some of them that have the mood boosting qualities as well. So one of the essential oils that really helped for me was having lavender essential oil. Now, lavender we know is great for helping with sleep, but what people don't realise is lavender is also amazing for reducing anxiety, or some of the symptoms of anxiety as well. It's also clary sage and things like that. So essential oils that we can use around the home using a skin safe lavender oil or scents. Bath salts, for example, can really help with those shifting emotional changes, can help with anxiety, with stress and depression. So I would really advise looking into what other oils that you can implement either through the stomach. So you can get food grade oils, you can get skin safe oils, you can get ones for your bath, diffusers, even ones in wax melts. So definitely look into what other oils can be beneficial for your mood depending on what it is that you need. So if it's anxiety, look into essential oil specific for anxiety. If it's stress, if it's like a depressed low mood, chamomile is another beautiful calming oil, or you can drink it in tea. I used to drink valerian root tea when I was really experiencing quite heavy anxiety and rumination and things and overthinking, and I used to drink valerian tea on an evening with a little bit of honey to help settle me down ready for sleep and to kind of slow the thoughts down a little bit so that I could drift off to sleep quicker. I always use honey in teas like that because to me they tasted like lawnmower clippings, which is not particularly nice. So the next on the list that I want to talk about is self-care. Now, I know self-care is one of those things that we think we do, but most oftentimes, especially for women, we are giving ourselves the bare minimum, especially during these months, especially when there's Halloween coming and Christmas and Black Friday and all the rest of the things that we've got to sort out, especially when we've just had the 6-week holidays. Like, I cannot believe we're in October already. It only feels like a couple of weeks ago since the kids were all off school for the summer holidays. It's crackers. But these months, like, in general, there are so many women who don't prioritise self-care. They think 5 minutes in the bath is self-care, or hiding in the bathroom to stuff a chocolate bar down their throat so the kids don't hear it is self-care. Self-care, if it's last on the list, if you feel guilty for doing it, or if you are waiting until you are absolutely exhausted to take care of yourself, then that's not self-care. That's the bare minimum that we're doing. It's not self-care. So self-care isn't just one of those boring things that we know we should be doing, but self-care is making you a priority. It's putting you first. It's making those intentional and deliberate choices to make time for your emotional, mental, physical and spiritual needs, because self-care isn't limited to just feeling tired and exhausted. We don't need to be waiting until we have those physical signs that we need to take care of ourselves, because if we're waiting for that moment, usually what happens is your capacity is being reached emotionally, mentally and spiritually, and the last place that your body and mind is telling you that you need to stop and take care of you is the physical sign. So we've already gone way past the need for self-care, emotionally and mentally. So we need to be taking care of ourselves across all of those 4 areas. And for women, it is a generational ingrained belief, whether we believe it consciously or subconsciously, that women can bear heavy weights and go through the world shouldering the weight of that with a smile on her face, and that she has to keep going because she's the glue that keeps everything together. Like, ladies, put on your own oxygen masks first, okay? Maximize on that self-care. Your brain, your body, your mind, your energy will thank you for it. So next on today's list is one that we often don't realize how powerful this can be, how healing, how helpful it can be, because we often feel like we're being a burden. We don't want to weigh anybody else down with our problems, or we get into the mentality of other people have it worse, I've just got to suck it up and get on with it. And that's buddying up with a friend. Having a buddy and a friend that you know may be experiencing similar to you can have almost a positive, compassionate accountability to it, where you can set yourself little daily challenges, you can encourage each other and motivate each other throughout each day and celebrate each other's wins, which actually makes it quite fun. So I want to share a short snippet of my recovery with you all. So when I was pregnant with my third child, I was experiencing quite heavy low moods with it, and because I was pregnant during the winter months, naturally early pregnancy, your hormones are running ragged. And I was really, really struggling. I was spending every day in my pajamas. I wasn't really doing anything. I was pretty much on autopilot a lot of the time. And one of my good friends reached out to me, who interestingly was also pregnant at the same time, not too much further along than I was, I believe, maybe about 6-7 weeks difference. And she'd shared with me that she was experiencing similar to what I was. So instantly I didn't feel alone. I mean, obviously we had the pregnancies in common at the time to talk about, but we didn't want, and this is a really big deal as well, we didn't want everything always being about the pregnancy. It's very easy to lose a sense of yourself to pregnancy. And forget about our own needs in all of that. So when she shared that she'd been experiencing the same as me, I didn't feel quite as alone. And what we ended up doing was setting each other little challenges through the day. And these were things such as getting dressed, putting makeup on, going out for a 10-minute walk, or going to the shop, or getting out and having some breakfast with a friend, or going out for coffees. And we started off with small things. We got up at the right time, brushed our teeth, did our hair, put a bit of makeup on. And these little challenges that we did, we would send each other photos, like evidence through Messenger that we'd done it. And if one of us did it before the other, then the other then had to kind of do it as well. And that really helped, having that accountability and having someone to share that with without the shame. So buddying up for whatever it is that you need at the time, if it's just somebody to talk, somebody to go out for a walk, even if you don't talk, just having somebody on that journey with you, that isn't one of those spaces that you create where you're both kind of offloading, but where you both focus on putting one foot in front of the other and doing things that contribute to your overall well-being, is absolutely amazing. And it's something that really did help me at the time. And finally, in this episode around helping yourself through those darker months and your energy, is respecting your limits. And that goes for home life as well as business, because it's very easy to push it. I live with ADHD and I'm also a manifester, and being incredibly creative the way that I am means that I can also hyper focus on things, and when I have the energy, I'm using up all of that energy until I need a rest again. So it's a very ADHD thing, struggling to pace yourself and space things out. So one of the major things that I had to learn was to respect my limits, and especially during these months as well, is knowing what your limits and your capacity is for anything, whether that's home life or business, and having the boundaries in place for yourself as well as other people around you. These are a must to maintain that emotional, physical and mental well-being and keeping it balanced. Being confident with saying no to things, even if it's something positive that you want to do, something that you know you'll enjoy, if it's going out somewhere, but you recognize that you just don't have the energy, you don't have the capacity to do it. And sometimes it's having that boundary with yourself to protect that energy. And saying, actually, I could really do with a rest, I could really do with an extra nap, because the more that we push it, the more time that we need to recover. So it's okay to have those days where you just don't want to go out. That's fine. Don't shame yourself for it. Take that day, enjoy it. I've just had 2 or 3 days to myself, and one of those days, all I did, I think, was take care of the children and read a book. And I read that book in a full day. So big up to my ACOTAR fans, because I really did enjoy that. It's taking all of my willpower not to start reading the second one that I know is in my Kindle list. But like I said, being confident with saying no to things, even if it's things that you know you'll enjoy but you just don't have the energy for. It's okay to have those days where you just don't want to go out, where you want to stay in your PJs, where you eat junk, whatever. It's okay for those things. If that's what you need, that's what you need. We just don't stay there. We make that promise to ourselves not to stay in that place. And if you have spent a few days in your PJs, you haven't opened the curtains, you haven't brushed your hair, for whatever reason, that's okay. Just set yourself small challenges instead of one day being in your PJs and you've been in them for a while and you haven't brushed your hair, to, okay, tomorrow I'm going to get dressed, I'm going to do all of my makeup, I'm going to do my hair really nice and I'm going to go out. Like, that's a lot. It's going to take a lot of energy. So build yourself up steadily to get back into the swing of things. Be gentle with yourself, because the more that you push, the more that you're going to keep allowing other people and yourself to step over those limits as well. And the quicker that stress, the low mood and the exhaustion will start to creep in. So these are like my top recommended things that you can do for yourself. There is a whole lot more that I could share, but I think if you are new to taking care of yourself through the winter months, then some of these are a great way to get you started. And for those of you that are in business and you are feeling the heaviness of these, burr months, as they call them, because it's October, September, November and December. If you are feeling the heaviness of the burr months, then it's okay to down tools and give yourself a bit of space. There really is no big bad authority that's going to come bursting through your door and say, oh my God, you're a lazy bitch, you haven't done this and you haven't done that. Like, the only authority that is going to do that is the one that's between your own ears. That is shame. Like, we can't shame ourselves into productivity, okay? We can't shame ourselves to be full of beans and all energetic and throw ourselves back into business. Like, it just don't work that way. So honour yourself, honour what you need. If these months are a bit of a slog for you, then try and implement some of these. I would love to hear if those of you that are going to try some of these out, what changed, what feels different, what you find helpful, or if you just want to reach out because you recognise yourself in some of this. That is totally cool too. Come and find me on Facebook, Becky Jane Stevenson. Let me know. And I'm looking forward to bringing you the next episode. Until then, much love.